Let's start out with looking at what the 4 CISM domains are and how they work together. Domain 1, Information Security Governance, which makes up 24% of the exam questions. And in Domain 1, we're going to be looking at the ethics, the values, the vision, and the mission of our business. Then we're going to be looking at the laws and the regulations we need to adhere to. And from that, we build our policies, our procedures, which can help us establish or maintain an information security governance framework and the processes we need around that, which then in turn will help us to make sure that our information security strategy is aligned with the business goals and objectives. Domain 1 is the foundation that all the other domains build on top of. Then we move into Domain 2. And in Domain 2, we focus on how can we identify the risk we have and how can we reduce it to a level that is acceptable based on our risk appetite. And you can never eliminate risk. There will always be risk. What we can do, however, is minimize the risk to a level where it is acceptable by the business. So in Domain 2, we're covering risk analysis. We're covering how do we identify all our assets and how do we know which are vulnerable and how bad it is if we get compromised. Then we look at different standards and frameworks that we can use both for the risk analysis, but also for our IT governance in general. Then we cover many of the risks that we face today. And then we do some looking at networking, virtualization, mobile security, bring your own device security, some physical security, and the countermeasures that we can put in place to ensure that we are more resilient and we have higher redundancy. And that is Domain 2. Which brings us to Domain 3. Domain 3, Information Security Program Development and Management. And Domain 3 is 27% of the questions on the exam. And the nice thing with the CISM certification is it's kind of a logical flow. Domain 1 is the framework, Domain 2 is the risk management, identify our assets, and then Domain 3 where we develop and maintain the information security program that identifies, manages, and protects the organization's assets. And again, we align that back to the security strategy and the goals of the business. And what that really just means is this is all the things that we have figured out we need from Domain 1 and Domain 2. Now we implement the access control. We implement the authentication, the authorization, the accountability, and the identification we use. This is also where we cover cryptography. We cover both symmetric and asymmetric, as well as hashing, digital signatures. And then a part that I think is very important, not just for the certification, but for you as an IT security professional, configuration management, patch management, and change management. And then we round out Domain 3 with security audits and security assessments. Which then brings us to the fourth and final domain of the CISM certification, Domain 4, Information Security Incident Management, which makes up 19% of the exam questions. The name kind of says what it is. Incident management. What do we do when bad things happen? And this is where we plan, establish, and manage the capabilities for us to detect, investigate, and respond to and recover from any incident that may happen. And the whole purpose of this is to minimize the business impact. As you can hear, this is business continuity or disaster recovery planning. So we'll cover exactly that, disaster recovery planning, business continuity planning, many of the sub-plans that we would have in our business continuity plan, the business impact analysis, different types of recovery strategies, different types of redundant sites we could have for our data center, how we, once we have built a disaster recovery plan, need to test it to make sure it actually functions, and then what we do when we're actually compromised. And the fourth domain is the last on the CISM certification, so I will see you in the lectures.